All right, you heard Sena Adjei on the podcast last week, not being too excited about The Last of Us, but he did that because it's a reciprocal relationship. And here I have him on talking about a movie we love that Sena is so pumped about, that I am, that the whole cinematic world is, and that is Sinners, the new Ryan Coogler film starring Michael B. Jordan.
Let's go.
Sena's username here is Senners, not Sinners, not Sena. Sinners, welcome to the podcast. You saw Sinners last night.
Yep.
I saw it a few days ago. We're recording on Saturday, April 19th in the morning. How did that go for you? How'd you like the movie?
Brother, a revelation. A revelation. I love this movie. If you haven't seen me yelling on social media about it, you probably have if you listen to this podcast. I loved it. I'm just going to save everything I got to save for later because we got a lot to go through. But yep, big fan. What about you?
I walked out of this thinking something that I wish I thought more often when I go to the movies, which is like, I got my money's worth and then some.
Absolutely.
Like, this is a whole lot of movie. It's 2 hours and 17 minutes. It's overstuffed in the best kind of way. It's brimming over with ideas and themes and characters and backstories and threads. Like, it feels like a novel, but it's not. It comes from one man's mind, one man's screenplay, Ryan Coogler.
Yep.
And God, was I just so refreshed to watch something that didn't set up another storyline, that wasn't the continuation of another storyline, that wasn't chock full of Easter eggs, that wasn't, franchise serialization. Like, it sounds reductive to just say I felt refreshed, but that's how I felt. I felt refreshed. Like, I watched some very significant, tough films. You do too. You were on the end of your countdown. We talked about some serious movies like The Brutalist or The Killers of the Flower Moon from a few years ago. Like, these movies are heavy and they're tough to watch. They are beautiful. They're like eating broccoli, knowing you're getting nutrition. I wrote in my review of Sinners that this felt like a full meal, and I saw just a day later, Ryan Coogler called it exactly that. He wants it to be a full meal. It's not just desserts. It's not just the vegetables. It is everything, and it tastes fucking delicious.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I think that's such a great way to put it, but I left the theater feeling like I just took 3 espresso shots to the dome. I don't know.
You were amped. You were geeked.
Exactly. In my own words, I was geeked. That sounds so funny coming out of your mouth. But
Sorry.
I was geeked up. I was geeked out. It was just this was a combination of so many of I think this is the first thing I said to you. I was like, you're like, I wonder if you're going to like it. And I'm like, this is like 5 of my top 10 favorite things in a movie. Like, you'd have to have me at gunpoint to not like this. Like, I swear to God, it's vampires, black shit, black music, Ryan Coogler. Like, it's just perfect. And a bad bitch. Like, it's just perfect, man. Like, I can't. Sorry to say it like that. I'm sorry for cursing, but like, it's good, man. It's everything I wanted. If you deliver on those, I'm gonna like the movie, and it delivered absolutely.
I mean, this is how movies used to feel. Like, you would see something and be surprised and delighted by the artistic vision that you're seeing from start to end, and then what was in between was just total originality.
Yeah.
And when you get that, sometimes it's a little weird. Sometimes it's a little strange. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes you don't agree with everything the director's doing. How much better is it to feel that and seize upon that than there be no grist for the mill at all, and for it to be just like boring, playing it safe franchise slop?
Perfectly put.
I love the originality of this. I think it's reductive to say this, but I need that kind of movie. We need to get back to that.
Yes,
and
we say it every time.
Sinners is an amazing step in that direction. And we had this conversation for Mickey 17, a less successful movie that people were ascribing like savior status to. This actually deserves it more than that.
Yeah, 100%. It's eating its lunch, though. Like, it's eating its lunch in the box office. It's eating its lunch in terms of cultural conversation. It's eating its lunch on the internet. No one's talking about fucking Mickey 17. Those theaters are going to be bare, and I think that's bad. I'm not saying it's like a zero-sum game here.
Right.
But I'm glad that if a movie was going to come in and kick its ass, that it's this. And the Minecraft movie. But, you got to take the wins with the losses.
Yeah, both from Warner's. All 3 from Warner's, actually. So, I don't know about you, but I thought this flew by. 2 hours and 17 minutes, like I said, but this moves so fast. I could have sat for much longer time. It's many movies in one that worked for me by the end when you see it as a full package.
But you don't know where you're going every moment. And like,
right.
You're kind of wondering what this movie is trying to be for a while. And I think that's intentional. Like, I think that Ryan Coogler knows that it's a little bit messy and it's a little bit all over the place. And it's trying to be a lot of things at once, like including like a fucking coming of age story kind of. And a folktale, but I think that's fun. I want more movies like that where it's just some guy spinning his wheels and he's like, "Fuck it, let's shoot it." You know, That's awesome.
And I am not the first nor the last person to say that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a great movie, but I rewatched it recently, and what Quentin Tarantino does so well is he accentuates his actors and he lets their charisma out. And I don't see that in modern movies. And then I see Sinners. And Coogler does exactly that. Like, he knows what aspect of each performer shines brightest, and he accentuates that. And specifically for Michael B. Jordan, I think.
Oh my God. Jeez, we might need a whole section on him. Man.
We do have a whole section on him coming.
I can't
they have like
wait.
a mind meld going on, but it's also just how Coogler's camera captures him. Wow, that is a fun alliteration to say.
Yeah.
But... the charisma of the actors comes out, which, again, is a reductive thing to say because you should hope that always the charisma of the actors comes through. That is not the case these days. The filmmaking is amazing. This was shot on these really fantastic IMAX cameras on film, and it shows. And it delivers the goods with feeling, with meaning, with entertainment value. This is why we go to the movies. That's what you said to me, right?
Yeah, it is, and I mean it. And it's like, it's got the sauce, and if I have any advice, it's the same thing as Everything Everywhere All at Once. Go see it now and have fun before people start shitting on it. Because it's when something has this much support, people just see an opportunity to be fucking annoying about it. So just get in now before the discourse turns and it becomes a race war on Twitter, which it will. Like, it just will. So be ready.
All right, let's talk about your theatrical experience before we get into the movie. You saw it last night. How did it go?
It was incredible. Packed theater, everything from college students to older people to like every race. It just was like a freak show in there. It was like, obviously I'm on a college campus, so it's like a more interesting mix of people, but I think it added to the experience. And what I loved about it most is that people were in there enraptured and so like captivated. One person pulled out their phone and I almost thought people were gonna pull out pitchforks and torches. Like, I've never seen an entire theater get so mad at one poor college sophomore who wanted to text his mom back. It's like, dude, not now. It was great. I loved it. What about you?
That's amazing. I saw it at a private screening a few days ago on IMAX. It was beautiful to behold. The screen ratio would change and expand and contract, which I learned is not going to be happening on all screens, just on the IMAX. But it did give the movie like this living, breathing quality that was sick. And, the sound system to project Ludwig Göransson's score was awesome. I love that score.
He was a killer.
He is just on another tier with his compositions these days. It was a private screen, but there was a mix of press and fans. And I thought I'm trying to drop this knowledge without sounding like a total jackass.
You're already close.
I remembered this essay from Hanif Abdurraqib in A Little Devil in America.
I love his writing.
He wrote that when it comes to movies, black audiences commune with the screen in a way that white audiences don't. They interact, they laugh, they say audibly, "Oh no," or "Oh yes."
Yep.
And it's a beautiful thing when you get to witness that, and that's what this screening had.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
It's like the Get Out effect, It's like you see it I was sitting next to a younger black guy, I think 5 years younger, and him and I were just locked in, like saying stuff at the same time without even meaning to. It was insane, but it wasn't. I didn't feel disruptive or no one was resented it. We were all in it together, and I think other people started kind of joining in. It was cool.
Yeah, well, I think that speaks to the fervor and passion around this movie. Like I said, I thought it was quite specious and disingenuous to get behind Mickey 17 just because of what you want it to represent. I hate that shit. I hate that.
Yeah.
And that movie was messy. It wasn't so good. People fawned over it. Oh, what a movie. And it was annoying. It's like, I know we all want saviors of cinema to crop up, but you can't artificially create that. The movie's the movie. You could argue that Sinners should and could be the brand new candidate for that. And you know me, I'm cynical. I hate this grandstanding. Judge the movie for the movie. Well, I'm judging Sinners. It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, love it. Love it. I don't think there's anything else to say about it. Like, it's like, yeah, I think that when people are going to start detracting, I think it'll be drowned out. I do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad.
And you are, as the listeners know, a denizen of the internet. Twitter, TikTok, your favorite NBA players, film enthusiasts. It's like this amazing Venn diagram of everyone fired the fuck up for Sinners.
Yeah, man. LeBron James, when LeBron James is repping your shit, you're in the green, man. Like, it's going to go well.
He's wearing a hoodie and he's got snacks hidden in his pockets
in his
sweatshirt.
I didn't notice. That's
LeBron
so funny.
James, one of us.
Yeah.
Gobble. Let's talk about the development history of Sinners before we get into the movie. Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan are both 38 years old. They worked together first on Fruitvale Station, made Creed, Black Panther.
Yep.
What do you think about them and their collaborations?
Coogler, I think, before Michael B. Jordan really broke with Creed, he'd been around, he'd stuck around, he was just kind of always that charismatic B-C character.
Mm-hmm.
I think that after Fruitvale and after Creed, Coogler could have gotten anyone. He could have veered left or right. I love that he was just like, no, man, like, you're my guy. I love those kind of director-actor partnerships, and him deciding to cultivate that and it skyrocketing both of their careers is the best possible timeline scenario. And they've only gotten better, in my opinion. And he's platformed Michael B. Jordan to have more agency in his career to go and do his directorial debut. And I think that is shown here. That like really made, you can feel that their synergy it's there. It's like firing on all cylinders. And so
Synergy.
Oh my God, Jesus. Sure. I think it's great. I hope they never stop. I really don't.
Yeah. Coogler seems to love working with the same people. What ends up being a hallmark of all the best directors, like you build a squad and a team.
Yeah.
And he's bringing back a bunch of people here. Michael B. Jordan, obviously. Ruth Carter, the costume designer. Hannah Beecher, the production designer. He worked with these people on Black Panther. Ludwig Göransson, obviously. And Adam Durald Arkapaw. There's this team quality that you're always going to be benefited by, bolstered by. Everyone's going to be lifting each other up together. And there's a loyalty to Coogler that's undeniable. Because
they love him.
He makes hit after hit. It's just like...
It's not hard when the paychecks are hitting, but I
mean,
think
why is he a good filmmaker before Sinners? Like, what'd you think of him heading into this movie, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I love him. I don't love everything he's done. I'm not over... I thought Fruitvale was like a great debut. Like, you couldn't ask for a better debut. Some of the Black Panther stuff, he's boxed in. But I think Creed 1 especially is just... It's a masterpiece, like, for me.
What does he do so well? It's very hard to pin down. I mean, it is easier after seeing Sinners, but before that, what would you say?
I think that his writing, his dialogue especially, it cuts to the heart of things that have been oft talked about, oft depicted, but he does it with like a special twist that I feel like is a huge piece of him. Like, you can feel whatever he's seen and whatever he's researched and whatever he's thought out in the way that they are talking about these things that have been talked about 1,000 times. Like when Michael B. Jordan in Creed especially is having that scene where he's talking about not wanting to be a mistake because of his out-of-wedlock circumstance of his birth. The way that he shot that scene, the way that he made that dialogue flow, it hits you in the chest and it doesn't feel cheap. And there are so many moments like that in Sinners where you're like, wow, I'm moved by that, and it doesn't feel like he's trying to tug on those heartstrings on purpose. You know, it just comes
he's a
naturally.
Genuine guy. He's a genuinely earnest screenwriter, filmmaker, and then you combine that with just directing the shit out of action scenes.
Jesus fucking Christ, man.
Back to Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler. All love to Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, legend.
Yeah.
But Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther as Killmonger. Oh, baby. I mean,
man.
He steals that movie even to this day. I get chills thinking about him staring down Angela Bassett saying, "Hey, auntie." He just like burns off the screen in that movie. I was waiting for these two to collab again, and this is the right thing to wait for. So there was an auction for Sinners in winter of 2024. All that was told was that it was a secret genre movie, and I remember the announcement. I was just happy that it was original and not these two titans of their craft, Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler, making another superhero film.
Yeah.
So they had these secret meetings at Coogler's agency, WME. execs had to read the script in person, and when something gets that treatment, you know it's hot fire.
It's
like that's like
gas.
the Quentin Tarantino treatment.
That is fucking gas.
Like,
you know it is.
These PDFs aren't, scattered around the internet. They're not showing up on Google Drives and Reddit folders. Like this
Call that Uber Black. You got to get here.
Warner Brothers won it in auction, agreed to pay the film's budget, which was $90 million. Yep, but potentially even more, and gave Coogler this unique deal where he could own the rights to the film after 25 years, which doesn't happen.
Not often.
Another Tarantino parallel. I mean, this is not the last time we're going to say his name here. The good news for Warner Brothers is that when this movie went over budget, Coogler, believing in himself, betting on himself, covered the overages out of his own fees and back-end compensation.
That's so tough.
He just had that kind of belief. That's rumored to be around $20 extra million of shooting of the film that he covered.
Huge balls, dude. Look at this guy. He's just a man.
Shot very quickly in New Orleans last year and comes to us this past Friday. So, Sinners the movie, let's get into it. Two brothers, Smoke and Stack, try to leave their troubled lives behind. They return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. Now, that is the movie, but that is far from explaining what this movie is.
Yeah.
Sena, heading into this, when you've come on the pod, we usually talk about what we liked, what we didn't like. Sometimes we walk through chronologically. I thought we could just be more freewheeling on this.
Let's go, dude. Yeah, this one deserves a special treatment. Let's get off the leash, man. We just gotta.
What do you want to start by talking about?
The shots in this thing, right? Mm-hmm. The visual storytelling in this thing. Oh my God! From the first scene, you are fucking absolutely in the tank. I was buckled in the first note, the first scene. The soundtrack we can talk about more about that later, but the soundtrack picks up and you see that fucking landscape, that wide, flat landscape.
Well, even before that, it's those like Kara Walker-inspired wood cuttings that tell a story
I love that shit.
Mythology and music.
Yeah, and I love that shit.
I loved it, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Like, set the scene, walk us in.
The movie starts so damn slowly, so often, and this is propulsive. Like, holy hell.
Yeah, dude.
Forget those wood cuttings. You get past that, and then it's just these vistas of these Mississippi fields that feel like very hot, like really overbearing. I know we're outside, but this is not a place that feels good to be in.
Yeah.
And then that's in contrast to how beautiful it does look with the IMAX direction.
Dude, gorgeous. And I think that the one thing I do want to say is that I get annoyed with anachronistic storytelling sometimes because it's like, you're giving away the goat a little bit, and now you really have to make me care about how we get here. It feels like a gamble, a dice roll, and a lot of the times I just can't get into it. Something about the way it started with that, no spoilers, this bloodied visage holding a broken guitar. Like, what an image, inside of a church. What a fucking image to start with. And it scares you off the rip. Like, it just hits you right in the face. Like,
the year is 1932. We're in Clarksdale, Mississippi. These two brothers, Smoke and Stack, have come down and potentially are on the lam from some gangsters in Chicago that they've played against each other. This is what I'm talking about. This is like there's so much hinted at within the story that isn't even part of the movie.
I know.
That just speaks to a broader canvas that Coogler has painted. And he's focusing on one 24-hour event. These two brothers down from Chicago to put on a massive party, not because they're altruistic, not because they love their community. They want to make money.
Yep.
They want to make money. Like, these are anti-heroes.
Yeah.
These are not good guys. These
They're
are
not
gangsters.
At all, dude. They absolutely are.
Bottom line oriented gangsters. Do they have roots and history in Mississippi with characters? Do they love? Like, of course, they are fully fleshed out people, but they're anti-heroes without a doubt.
They're shooting.
So they are down from Chicago to throw this party to make a lot of money. And this is about the 24 hours of setting up that party, and the aftermath that might involve some vampires. Something that's really fascinating about Sinners are the tonal swings that I mentioned seem so disparate, but really actually work and make sense. The first part of the film we were talking about off mic, is like a gangster drama, like akin to Killers of the Flower Moon. Like it's stately. The production design is gorgeous. It's just taking its time to situate you in this world. Like that scene at the train station, which reminded me of There Will Be Blood. Like the general store. These are not just tossed off sets. Like you really believe you're there. And after that very action-packed first few moments, it slows down and takes its time. It's got that southern drawl, you know? It's got that southern speed.
Yeah.
And I really respected that because I really got to know all the characters, which sounds obvious, but it's important.
No, not only is it important, I think that it is the only reason that the movie works so well. I think that is like one of the main linchpins of it, is that as we're following the two brothers separately and they kind of go off on their own and we're slowing down and we're learning about their roots and their history, that's when Michael B. Jordan starts to really cook, right? It's like because we're feeling the defining characteristics that make...
Michael B. Jordans, plural.
Exactly. Michael B. Jordans really start to cook because you feel their motivations, what they like, what they don't like, what drives them, like what they're connected to, and they're separate, but they're still linked. And that all makes everything that happens after so much better. You know,
right.
I thought it was cool.
This is a critical time to get to know these characters, to feel more what happens to them later. And when we get to what happens later, I was deeply moved because, like I said, I knew them. So if part one is the gangster drama, part two is almost like a musical. Like
it is.
Yeah, like without, I don't want people to confuse this with like an adaptation of a Broadway musical, but like some great music heavy scenes.
Yeah,
and just a party that reminded me a lot of Steve McQueen's Lovers Rock, which is an amazing movie from a few years back.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of House Party.
Yeah.
You ever seen that movie? It's like, it's like, okay, this is this one event, big party, all of you interconnected. I just thought it was like, it kind of felt like it was winking at it.
And the filmmaking then changes too. It becomes more sensuous and the color scheme is different. It's a lot of golds and browns and reds. Like it's a very sensory experience.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And then the last act is like a blaxploitation horror comedy.
Yeah,
that is both like really funny, really scary, really action-packed. I'm describing 3 different movies, and yet they all exist within Sinners, and it all makes sense.
Yeah, and one thing I really, really liked about the end is that that's when the shape of the movie starts to kind of make sense to you, and you get what he's trying to say. He's trying to say a lot of things, but in my opinion, you get some of the main things he's trying to tell you with the movie. But it didn't feel fucking preachy. Not to make a pun here, because religion's obviously a big theme. It didn't feel didactic. I didn't feel like talked down to. He was just kind of like, here, like, this is how I'm feeling about it. You know, he drops it there, and I love that.
I just want to stay on a few more filmmaking points about the film. Part of that is the score from Ludwig Göransson. Now, Steven Spielberg has John Williams. Christopher Nolan had Hans Zimmer. I hope Coogler and Göransson work together for many, many, many years.
Yeah, man. They have such a perfect partnership. And obviously Nolan stole him for a little bit, but I'm glad he's back.
Might keep him,
He really might.
I heard that Coogler had to, I don't know if he had to, but I checked the credits. Göransson's a producer of the film. That never happens for the composer.
He probably had to really get him
Coogler
back.
had to give him the hard sell. It just goes to show like how integral he is. This is such a music-based movie. The score has to rip, and it does.
It
obviously.
absolutely does. Yeah, it's gorgeous. He just knows what he's doing, and obviously he's worked with some of our other most favorite creatives.
DG.
DG.
Laughing
for the wrong reasons. Oh my god, that's my shit. I love that shit. On YouTube, go watch it.
Throwing it all the way back. Mention Autumn Durald Arkapaw and her cinematography. It's amazing. Ruth Carter and the costumes, they're like with Michael B. Jordan's Smoke and Stack. One's wearing a touch of blue, the other's wearing a touch of red. Obvious in helping you understand who's who, but also like doing some subtle things to tell you maybe their nature. Is Smoke a little cooler? Is Stack run a little hotter? Like, it's just good stuff. It's just good filmmaking.
Yeah, we're going to step a little bit on Michael B. Jordan's performance if we go any further with that. And I can't wait to talk about it.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Michael B. Jordan.
I'm so impressed and so glad. Michael B. Jordan is chronically corny in some of his performances. Sometimes he's there, and then the next minute it's like a line reading. It's like, ah.
Unfortunately, what's followed him the past couple of years is that meme of him smiling courtside.
Yeah, I mean, he's tough because he's a good guy, right? He looks like he would be a fuckboy because he's ripped.
He's hot.
Yeah, he's so
he's
ripped.
The people's sexiest man of the year.
Dude, and deserves it. But something the internet often says about him is just like, he's just too dweeby. This is where all of that shit goes out the window, dude. He was on fire. The subtle physicality of Smoke having the tremor, and then Stack with like a completely different grin, and like he just was on it every single moment. And I think that, Ryan Coogler, I like to say that he's not always subtle, like the color theory stuff, the blue and red, but he's potent. He's potent and he's clear. And I think that's enough, You don't have to be the most complicated motherfucker. Like,
you're so right. I would hate to have to be wondering who was who this whole movie.
It would drive me fucking crazy.
Exactly.
Change the brims of the hats. One's blue, one's red. These are the brothers. Give them slightly different haircuts, but don't let Michael B. Jordan take off the hat too much. And you get a winning movie. It's just don't fuck it up. And so I love that.
Michael B. Jordan is a great performer as an actor, but also as like an action figure. He's also fantastic. So at the end of the film, when he's just mowing down Klansmen with a Tommy gun,
fucking
with his
rocks.
muscles bulging,
dude, he looked like fucking
yes,
Stallone.
Yes,
it was awesome.
Easy done.
But you know what else I got to give him credit for though is that in all of the love scenes, he's believable. He's believable on both ends as having a different kind of chemistry and a different kind of sexual and romantic relationship with those partners. And I've never, in the over the pants stuff in Creed, I was kind of like just whatever. I was like, it's not really doing anything for me. Here, I was like standing at attention a little bit. I was like, oh shit, like they're going for it. And it doesn't get too racy, but I thought he really pulled it off.
Let's talk about his partner or partners in those racy scenes. Let's start with, I guess it's Stack's ex-girlfriend, played by Haley Steinfeld, who is...
Octoroon!
Yeah, I was about to say.
Don't say it! You're not allowed to say it.
No,
she's
passing. She's
She is very white passing. She has a husband in Arkansas that Stack apparently it seems like has set her up with this life and then abandoned her out of love or whatever. But yeah, she's like 1/8 black.
In life and in movies, like the white enchantress, the white she-devil for the black lead. I think of Undercover Brother, for example. Man, it's
like a classic.
This is a trope. This is a real thing in life, in movies. There's something seductive about that, but also Clarksdale, Mississippi, like 20 years later, we're going to have Emmett Till whistling at a white woman and her having him murdered because of it, setting off a civil rights movement. So like there's something seductive and there's something very scary about this introduction of this character and what she represents to the story.
They refuse to look at her, at the beginning. They don't shy away from that. That was the advice
from Stack to the young cousin.
Yeah, to Preacher Boy.
So what'd you think of Haley Steinfeld in the movie, what she represented, how she performed?
I fucking loved not only how she depicted this character, I love how Ryan Coogler treated the character. She wasn't like outside. She was slightly like one step in another world, but everyone treated her and understood that she was a part of the community no matter her complexion. And even when she turns villainous later on, it doesn't feel like her and Dak are like as much like this forbidden, taboo, like kind of, some of these things kind of just turn the lens, becomes fetishizing, kind of. It's like, look at this perfect thing that is so dangerous outside here. Like, don't you want this? But it doesn't, even though it brushes it, it never goes for it all the way. And I was so relieved to see that. She even has a pretty good Southern accent and dropped a couple of like lines that I thought,
hey, you don't remember True Grit? That's how she got her start. She was a little cowgirl back in the day. That was her intro.
But even like, boy, if you don't get the fuck out of my face, that could have been my sister saying that. Like, she said it perfectly. I was like, damn, okay, she has her actual racial background is the same as the character too.
No, really?
She's an Octoroon in real life, yeah, which I think is very interesting.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Let's talk about Smoke's love interest, played by Wunmi Masako.
Ugh.
Now, I have seen her in Loki, right? She was in Loki. Yep. What else have we seen her in?
She's in Loki. She's in a few things. God damn.
She's always stealing the show, stealing scenes. She was in We Own This City, a show that I loved.
She's voices someone in Scavenger's Reign. When she pops up, she's always just pitch perfect, like a delight. She's also in Lovecraft Country.
So she is playing Smoke's love interest. They had a child together who sadly, tragically passed away, less than a year old. And so, again, the history of this story is bigger than the story itself. And like I love the suggestions and the hints that remain that, you know, you don't have to explain like we had a baby, the baby died, you were sad, you moved to, like, we get it. You show a grave of a little tiny child, like, we get it. And I think what also is so amazing about her character, like, I'm sure Coogler has pages and pages of notes about who that character is. She represents hoodoo and tying herself to the land in a more ancient kind of mythical way. And you talk about this film, and one of its themes is time, future, present, past. She represents the past and a spiritual angle to the story.
That's really good.
That I think really is believable, I guess. What do you think of her here?
I agree so much, and I didn't think about it that way, but I think that she does. She has that, even for both brothers, like this root in that land and in that space and in their cultural history, whether they believe it or not. And the fact that Michael B. Jordan carries around the, whatever they call it.
Pocket.
The mojo pocket, and that like that as like a symbol of his love for her, and he doesn't really believe it all the way, but she believes it, you know.
She believes it.
As it carries on and other people are starting to see, oh, magic's fucking real, like this shit is real, she not only serves as an awesome expository tool, like love that, love the witch that kind of like knows all the rules, but also keeps everybody on the level. And there's a scene where Stack dies and Smoke is looking up at her, and they're just sharing a look, very few words. And that performance between her and him made me almost cry. It was just so real in that moment that they just have years and years of history, and he's looking at her like it's happening again. Like we're losing something so important again. And all of that is done without saying it, without that dialogue.
Right.
And I just thought she was great.
Something else said without dialogue, and then we'll move on, is that when we meet her, and she's awesome, like she's just cool as fuck, like
cool as hell, yeah.
You understand, like the brothers like are running from something in their life, like they ran up to Chicago and they're living a sinful life up there, but they're like, there's a restlessness within them where they can't accept their roots, they can't accept Mississippi, like it's hard to really explain, and maybe that's just being black at that time. You know, these are World War I veterans, which I thought was a fascinating note.
So cool that they just like kind of weave that in. So cool.
I really thought of Watchmen, the TV show, where there's this little moment where we get a glimpse of these black soldiers in World War I, and there are these flyers coming down onto them, dropped from German planes, and the flyers say, "Your country doesn't accept you. Come to us and we'll accept you." Now, Germany didn't accept jack shit a few years
that was a
later
bit
from
of a
that.
failed promise on that one.
But the propaganda is powerful. Like, these are soldiers, they fought for their country doesn't respect them, they're taking shit into their own hands. So much is there. Yeah,
you can't help but, no matter what they do and how fucking ugly their behavior is, you kind of gotta give it to them. It's like they're refusing to get pissed on and be told it's raining. You know, they look it right in the eyes what that world has to offer them in that country and that land, and they're deciding no. Like, no fucking way. And I think that's really cool. And Coogler is not afraid to say that's also a path to destruction. Like, it's like, even if you feel like you have to make that choice, you have to make that deal, it's going to ride you right off the rails anyways, and they'll take everything from you no matter what. And I think that's just a real ass thing to be able to say in a movie. No happy endings.
Yeah, incredible. Let's move on to someone else representing the past, and that's Delroy Lindo playing Delta Slim. Delroy Lindo, legend.
The man.
Yeah. I just
one
saw
of my favorite performances by him.
Letterboxd 4 favorites with the cast of Sinners. He named 2 movies that he's in within his 4
He's
favorites.
Such a fucking goat.
He said Malcolm X and
Five Bloods.
The Five Bloods, yeah.
He's so fucking real. They're good movies.
Yeah, they are. He's great in this movie. I loved his intro when he sipped that Irish beer. I could tell that was hitting really hard.
Yeah, I wanted it.
Looked like a hot day.
Yeah,
that guy's definitely had a lot of beer in his life. That specific beer really must have tasted good.
It had to have.
He was really funny. Like, he was hysterical in this movie, and that's not what we think of when we think of Delroy Lindo, I don't think. My favorite scene, though, of him was when they're driving in their convertible. It's Smoke and Stack, little cousin Sammy, who we're about to get to, and Delroy Lindo. And it starts off like a jovial, funny story about Delta Slim playing some music for a white audience. It's hysterical, it's anecdotal, but then it gets really dark.
Yeah.
And I forget the exact specifics. I am going to go rewatch this movie, I think even this weekend. But I think his musical partner is lynched.
Yes.
The detail.
They see him with all the money they earned, and then they make up a story and they go and lynch him.
Right. And very subtly, non-diegetically, we're hearing the sounds of that uprising, that lynching, the crowd, like, and it's just peppering in to the moment, and you could tell that all of that's kind of reverberating through Delta Slim's head as he tells the story, and it just goes from something so funny to so tragic so quickly. Then they start playing the blues, and
it crescendos into that moment of them playing the blues, and like,
it's one of my favorite moments in the movie.
It was so powerful, and that one thing that I love about this movie, and we'll talk about more, is that thumping. Every time someone stomped their foot, or like a body hit the floor, it was just loud. They turned that all the way up. Like, you wanted to feel like a heartbeat, like that kind of pulse of the film. It set that cadence for the entire thing, and that's a moment that I think is a really good start to that. It's like kind of setting that tone, setting that pace.
Right, because that's also in the first act.
Yep.
Miles Cadden, debut performance. He plays Cousin Sammy. We meet him in the first scene.
Preacher boy.
He's arguably like the protagonist of the movie in the sense that it's his fate on the line. Is he going to break bad? Will he go to his demons or his angels?
Yeah.
Smoke and Stack, it would be too simplistic to be one of them pulling him one way, one of them pulling the other. They're just telling him the real. They're kind of just saying, like, this is how it is, Sammy.
Which was sick. Like,
this character and the blues, and he wants to be a musician. It's inspired by the legend of Robert Johnson, who's one of the most famous musical artists in American history, maybe world history, who made, supposedly, a deal with the devil in exchange for musical genius, and became the most renowned, legendary, mysterious, enigmatic blues artist ever. To the point there's 2 photos of him, scant recordings, but his name and what he represents has grown so much more than any recording could be pressed onto a vinyl.
Yeah, it's such a cool reimagining of that legend too, and it's like I just thought it was
so sick.
What I think that people are going to miss about this movie is that, like, look, like, the way that they're depicting it, right? It could be like, oh, music bad, music evil, music attracts evil, right? But magic, especially in like the history, especially the oral history of like African and indigenous peoples, it's not evil. It's just powerful. It's just dangerous. It brings forces and circumstances to your life that you may not be able to handle. And so people avoid it, right? And they caution each other against it. But it's not evil in its essence. It's just risky, right? Like any power is. And I've heard Coogler talk about it, but I don't know if people feel that as much in this movie, as much as they'll take away like, oh, damn, like he like made the wrong choice. Like, no, he just made a riskier one. And you might have to pay the piper.
I mean, it's interesting, too, because he's the son of a preacher, and music in the black church is integral, too. It's like, what kind of music is he going to play? Is he going to be a choir boy and sing gospel music? Is he going to play the blues at juke joints where people are fucking, like,
including him?
Or can he do both?
Finding that button.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really nuanced, like you're saying. I think that was really well said.
Yeah, and I think that I think we're going to see him more. I really do. People are raving about him, and well-deserved.
Let's talk about the villain of the piece, Jack O'Connell, playing a Irish vampire named Remick. What do you want to say? I so much to unpack with him, too. Like, dude, again, just so much to unpack. We're going so over, but I love it. Let's just go.
He was just pitch perfect. He was so fun as the villain, and so kooky and so crazy, but like, and switching accents constantly, and it just all worked for me. I was just like, I believe this guy.
What is he? Why is he? Like, help me out. Help the listener.
Yeah, so he is a vampire come over from Europe, and he is from Ireland, and he seems to be on a mission to swell his numbers. He's being hunted by these indigenous fucking vampire hunters who are never explained and never revisited, who look so badass.
Need that sequel. Need that in the prequel.
I would love fucking that.
The Choctaw.
Dude, that shit was sick. And, he is just seems to be on a mission not only to satiate his thirst, but to swell his numbers, to essentially, like, reestablish control of, like, his life. Like, obviously the Irish very famously are not so happy about how things went historically. And it seems kind of like a revenge for that is what he's trying to establish. Like, okay, like, I'm going to pass on this cursed gift of immortality to whomever will receive it to create this paradise here since we lost it there.
Interesting. That's a read. I don't think there's a correct or wrong answer when it comes to him, and I feel like of any part of the movie, it's actually the most ambiguous, oddly. I did hear, weirdly, Ryan Coogler reference a Marvin Gaye lyric in regards to this character. He said one of Marvin Gaye's sexiest lyrics is, "I want you, but I want you to want me too." And he put that feeling into this character so that he could, Remick, bite everyone's neck and turn them, but he wants to seduce others into his way.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, his Irish songs were very seductive.
They were so good.
They were so good.
So good, dude.
And I felt icky for liking them so much and being so intoxicated by how melodic and gorgeous they were.
Yeah, and
I think that's kind of the point. But like his Riverdance jig, like
he was fucking that shit up, dude.
He was going so hard.
All the fucking black vampires
Road to Dublin. Oh my god!
All the black vampires, because they become a hive mind, like knowing how to Irish jig with him in that circle. It was so cool. I was like, this makes no fucking sense, and it's the coolest shit ever.
But it's so seductive. You're almost like, bite me. That shit looks fun.
Yeah, you guys are having a blast, dude. You get sick, cool colored eyes and sharp teeth. And
you said that this movie, one of the themes is assimilation.
Yeah.
Is this where that comes in?
It is, and that's where I think it becomes most felt. Is this idea of like this offer of like salvation, quote unquote, but you have to do it my way, right? Hey, I'll free you, but you have to do it my way. And no matter who it's from or where it's from, it's always a lie. That kind of forced assimilation is always a fucking lie, because if you're having to abandon who you are and what you are for the sake of peace and make that deal, it's a bad fucking deal. Even if you feel like you're forced to make it. But he employs almost so many different methods to try to get them over to him. But I think the part that rings the most true for me of why it's a lie is because you see that earlier when he's turning the first few white people, he sees that Ryan Coogler focuses on that Klan outfit. Yep. He switches tack. He says whatever it takes for him to get more people on his side, right? He's like, these damn engines, like, he's not popping all that equality shit then when it serves his interest. But then when it's black people, he changes tune, and it's all about, they were going to kill you anyways.
I think he also, like, genuinely loves their music. So there's another complicating factor there, which is, like, how musically inclined this vampire is. This vampire is Billy Elliot, and he loves black music.
That's so fucking funny. Yeah, it's complex.
He's most upset and jealous when the scene we'll talk about next, but like when they're burning the house down, literally, with how sonically gorgeous and seductive and amazing their music is. And that's like a life force in addition to blood being a life force. Like,
that's deep, dude.
But his music, shout out to the Irish music. That was great.
Shit was tough. Yeah, they kept up. It was cool.
All right, let's talk about this scene that we have a mutual friend calling it corny as fuck. We got others online saying it's the greatest scene in a movie they've seen in years.
Including Spike Lee.
Set up the moment. Tell me what occurs that has everyone talking. I'll tell you how I felt about it after, but yeah, please.
Yeah, so it's just like, starts off with, and this scene eventually becomes the burning the house down, but Sammy Preacher Boy starts singing this song about the tension between him and his father, and kind of the background kind of falls out and it focuses on his voice, and then it swells with other sonic styles. You start hearing African drums, you start hearing violence, and what you see as it pans,
hip-hop record scratching.
Hip-hop record, but I was getting to that because when you pan out and they start moving around in this wonder around the party, you start seeing the stewards of black music and some Asian music too appearing in different parts. You see people, you see these incredible Zulu dancers, you see...
I think the first is like a slash kind of guitarist.
Yeah, a slash guitarist. And then you see a black ballerina, and then you see he's hip hop DJ, and then you even see like West Coast like 2000s era Crips, like Crip walking and like their version of music, and then you see like shorties twerking and shit. I was like, that's when he almost lost me. I was like, okay, but he brings me back because then at the end it's like kind of like this Where's Waldo, as you're trying to differentiate between the party goers and these people across time, that have stewarded black music in its evolution.
This is music piercing the fabric of time.
Exactly.
Like is set up in the opening moments of the movie.
It's so cool.
It is one of the more bold, audacious things I've seen in such a big budget blockbuster film in so long. Like maybe since like Oppenheimer and the opening of Oppenheimer.
Yeah, man. I just...
What'd you think watching it? How'd you feel?
Okay, I was in... And I was out, and I was in, and I was out, and I was in, and I was out, and then I was in, and I stayed, But, like, when the slash guitar shit, I was like, corny. Kind of corny, but whatever.
Yeah.
But then there are certain moments where, like, especially when the African dancers are coming in, their drums start hitting, where I felt something. I was like, this is gorgeous, you know? And then even when, like, the DJ, twerker, crumper people came in, by the time you see the entire scene, everyone moving at once across time in this space of like, hey, this is where freedom lives in dance and song. That message works for me, and it was heard loud and clear. I thought it was beautiful by the end. I was in on it, and I think I can't wait to see it again. What'd you think?
I mean, I thought it was so corny at first, and then to see Coogler commit to the bit so hard, I turned to the other side and just thought, wow, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is fucking crazy. Can't believe he's trying this, but it's working just because of his hard on the sleeve earnestness.
Yeah, and that's exactly why you could just and like that's his superpower. Is you're like, dude, he like really loves this shit. He really wants to say something.
He cares. He's going for it.
He does. And I wanted to touch back one more time on like this idea of like that attracting the vampires in this assimilation. Like it's not lost on me that during this film, like this film that's talking about the assimilation and is assimilating its black characters by force, that Ryan Coogler is on this incredible fucking press run, refusing to do any of that. You know, like talking like he's from Oakland with his stutter, in his cadence, and just refusing to do any of the more buttoned up, made for TV, PR, voice shit that so many black people are forced to do. He's refusing to do that while making a movie commenting on it. And that's not something that we should all overlook. That's like powerful, dude, that's happening right now in America. I thought it was so cool.
Should we get to the vampires? I feel like it's time.
Yeah, man, of course.
I think a turning point for me is this incredible scene of cross-cutting where the vampires are starting to accumulate outside. They're small in numbers. The party in the juke joint is hotter than ever. Characters are having sex.
Yeah. People are drinking.
Smoke and Stack are beating the shit out of someone, which was very dark. Like
stomping him the fuck out.
I think they killed someone.
Yeah, they killed him, dude.
So there's just this building, and you talked about the stomping. Like, that's when this turned for me. And the joy of the night went away and turned into something horrible.
Cold.
But what comes next, though, is like a horror comedy. Like it's really a tonal whiplash that, I don't know, kind of worked. Do you remember like when you realize, oh, we're in this movie now?
It's you know what the moment was for me is I think it's when it's that moment where they find Stack after he fucking got bit, you know, and that's when it's like fucking serious, and Smoke blasts her with twin pistols immediately without thinking twice, and the whole party kind of comes to that halt. That's when I was like, oh, okay, like big about face, like now it's about to get started. And then it kind of it peppers in moments where it like kind of becomes like a whodunit for a minute, and they think there's a vamp, and that's hilarious. And
that was one of my favorite scenes, the garlic test.
So good, dude.
I kind of wanted someone to
be one.
Because, you know, that's a direct reference to John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
Where Kurt Russell lines up the other characters, pricks all of their blood tests, and one of them turns into a crazy monster. So I kind of wanted the moment, but then that would have meant one of our nice lead characters would have been a vampire.
But he fucks with you, though. For a minute, you're like,
yeah.
Blast that bitch for a second. Yeah. People in my theater were shouting to shoot her. I thought it was so funny.
That's when we get that great Omar Benson Miller moment when he's trying to get in. It's when the vampire logic and rules set in a little bit too.
And can we say that, like, I just love that he just made them traditional vampires. No, like, fucking cheeky, oh, this was misunderstood. Like, no, these are garlic crosses, motherfucking steaks. Like, we're going back to the hits. And I thought it made it more fun.
I don't know what sets off, like, the action, but, like, it just
come on
comes.
In.
Yeah,
come on in moment.
Right.
Where Shorty is just like this amazing character played by an incredible actor is so frustrated at the idea that her husband has turned that she yells for all the vampires to come inside, and that's when it's just bloody slasher and we're just off to the fucking races.
Mayhem.
And it's fun as hell.
It is really fun. But
and then also Smoke is just John Wick. for like 10 minutes straight. He's just like the fucking best vampire killer on the planet. I thought it was sick.
I like something more than the vampire killing, though. It was the Klansman killing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
this is not even the real climax. I mean, it is because, you know, we get this amazing moment. The ending goes so hard, it's hard to even, like, talk about it and parse it. But a highlight for me in, like, part one of the ending is Sammy versus Remick in the water.
Yeah.
smacks his head with the silver steel of the slide guitar.
Yeah, and it burns him.
Right into the side of that. Like, just, that's a fucking gnarly kill, man. That is great stuff. And to bring the guitar back into it, and now you get why he's holding the neck of the guitar in the beginning.
Tight,
like, just the circular nature.
Jumping back to the Ku Klux Klan member killing, which was awesome. At the end, when is waiting camped out like sniper style to kill these Klansmen who had come to kill them. I love that they like Chekhov's gunned us. They were like the trunk. Everyone's talking about the fucking trunk, and I'm like, what the fuck is in the trunk? Like, you assume it's like a weapon of some kind, but I'm like, they have a minigun, whatever. And it is guns, but they seem like they're like ones that they're really familiar with from their time as soldiers, right? It's like, they've sourced these because they used them in the fucking trenches.
It's their lockbox. It's theirs. Yeah.
I thought that was so fucking cool that they brought that back.
This is after the vampire battle. These are the human vampires, you could say. These are the worst of Mississippi. Come to the barn to kill anyone left after this party. Is that right? Would you say?
Yep. Kill them all, take the property back.
And like you're saying, smoke just obliterates them.
Yeah,
and I was so glad that this was rated R, because this didn't pull a punch. This was just these Klansmen getting absolutely
mowed down.
And Coogler like loved this scene and wanted to unleash this in Black Panther 1, in Black Panther 2.
Yeah.
Couldn't. Had to make things for happy meals. Yeah, literally. This was very Tarantino. Like,
as hell.
You think of the end of Django, and that's maybe more apt in terms of the setting and the character and the content of the story, but this felt like Inglourious Basterds.
It did.
This was like righteous anger.
Yep.
And just raining down destruction in a revenge fantasy kind of way.
Yeah, and it was fucking beautiful. And it's like, it felt like a release, like the whole time you're like, so many things you're feeling about the story and the way it's progressed, but the main reveal of like, oh, like this was all gonna be doomed from the start, that made me angry.
Right. That is why they're there. That's a good point.
Yeah, and the vampires tell them, and they weren't lying about that. And I was like pissed off. I was like they were doomed from the beginning. Like, these brothers who have done everything, risked everything, like they were always gonna be fucked over. It's great to just see the people that were gonna do that just get blacked on. It was just great.
Yeah. And then the last Klansman, like you're saying, takes maybe 40 machine gun hits to the body and face.
It's still, dude.
Still wasn't enough.
Oh, I just love that. You just think he's going to crawl away and just get by the skin of his teeth, because smoke's almost gone, and he just makes sure to just take him on the way out. Just one more. And I just thought that was fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the thrills of the scene are immense, but the emotion is too, because of two reasons. One is a Coogler signature, which is like a vision of the afterlife, which we saw in Black Panther so movingly. But here it is Wunmi Musaku's character breastfeeding their child. And she has said before, we're going to join the baby in the afterlife. And here he's going to get the chance to do it. And beautiful moment. Really has to do so much with faith and spirituality. Like, it is connected to vampires and the undead, but this is like the positive, beautiful version of dying.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for the story. But then my sneaky favorite part of the film is we never got a montage of like, let's get the juke joint together. And I kind of wondered where that was.
Like, we're getting the band back together type of deal. Like, we're setting this up. We're setting that up.
But it comes at the end in flashbacks before Smoke dies.
Yeah.
Where he remembers the cooking of the food and the unboxing of the liquor. And everyone as a community is working together. And it's very sad because everyone got turned into a vampire and died in the movie. Like, it's very tragic.
Yeah.
And to see like just the happiness, the black joy on display in the time leading up to this event, I was very moved by it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it more in the mid-credit, kind of what they're talking about in that. But yeah, I thought it was dope too.
That's the movie. And
that's the movie.
Preacher Boy drives up north with his guitar.
Yeah. I mean, if Coogler kept anything from his Marvel stint that is still going on, he just had to do a mid and post-credit scene and then a post-credit scene.
Yeah. What'd you think of the mid-credit scene? I was already feeling like this had so many endings and they were working for me. And then, yeah, dude, the mid-credit didn't scuttle the movie by any means, but I didn't love it.
I didn't need a Killmonger.
Blues legend Buddy Guy.
So cool.
So cool.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't need a Killmonger will return Marvel. I like to know that he survived because of the love between him and his brother.
It was enough to see Buddy Guy playing with the scars, knowing that that's supposed to be Sammy.
Yeah, that was enough. They could have cut to black. You know, Michael B. Jordan in his fucking 90s Biggie sweater with, this is like his white woman, like in modern times where their love can be accepted. I was like complaining. But I did like that line in there where he's like, hey, like before shit hit the fan, that was the best day of my life. You know, from Preacher Boy, him agreeing, he's like, yeah, like me too. And that's like, we were free. Like before all of this, like for one last moment, we were free. And that was just like, it feels corny when I'm saying it back here, but when you're in the movie watching, I'm telling you, everyone, it lands for me. That's the one part of it that worked.
I heard a really cool anecdote about that moment with Buddy Guy, which is that Ryan Coogler wanted to include him in the movie, showed up to Buddy Guy's jazz bar in Chicago, and Buddy Guy's entire family was with him and his young grandkids and everything. And he says to Ryan Coogler, I haven't seen your movies, I don't know who you are, but my grandkids love Black Panther, love you, say anything you're doing I should be part of, so I'm in.
That's so
that
fucking
just
sick.
really touches me.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah, so that's the movie.
That is the movie.
I think through talking about it, we've touched on a lot of the themes of it, but I know this really moved, you know, the AP English kid in you. What other thematic threads matter to you within Sinners?
Forgive me if I rant or go long on this one. Using this kind of Afro-surrealist, spiritually like dense setting and story to talk about like the history of sharecropping in America, about the trappings of like race relations, all of these things obviously clear as day. Obviously, we talked about assimilation. What I think this is about, most of all, what I think is a thread in all of his movies, is about like Black perseverance despite circumstances, and that may feel like passé and obvious, but in each of his movies, especially this one, that perseverance is depicted in a much different way. And for this one, it's like the deck is stacked, right? You've already lost, and it's important that you fucking do it anyway. Right? Like, no matter what, it's important that you do it anyway. And I think that's a theme that you see in, like, Preacher Boy. It's a theme that you see in The Twins. And everyone, like, all these people are just doomed. They're fucked from the beginning. From the day their life started, they were doomed in horrible, horrible ways. But that doesn't mean that anything they did and anything they experienced, including all the way up to that night, wasn't important and wasn't meaningful and doesn't pass that torch on in a way that could ultimately result in that progress. Like I said, I feel it in all of his stuff, but I love it in this one. I think that's just such a optimistic way to depict something like this, and I was into it.
That's beautifully said. I think the thread I'm most interested in, they're kind of connected, is like the South representing myth and the past, and the North representing modernity and the future.
Yeah.
And how this pulls on all of the characters, really pulls on first wave, second wave Black migration in this time period too. How do you keep who you are while trying to strive for a better, newer life? And is that possible? The brothers come back from Chicago. They're asked, how is it? And they say, it's just Mississippi with bigger buildings.
Love that line. I wanted to mention that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, that's just the American story, sadly.
It is, yeah.
How do you create who you are? How much of the past and your roots do you keep? How much do you strive to be someone new and be an exemplar of the right American man, Black man, whatever, moving forward?
Yeah.
And that's like a war of the soul that I think the movie gets at.
That's good,
in a pretty
dude.
deep way, while being very fun, being a vampire movie.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And, you know, Coogler talks a lot about how, you know, he made it a genre film so he could get some money pumped into this thing. But I think vampirism was the perfect choice. You know, I think it works, and he understood how to get in there and kind of roll up his sleeves and make it say something new.
Sen, I want to share with you some of the influences on Ryan Coogler making this film that he has so far mentioned online. Now, more could be coming out in the days to come as he gives more interviews, but it's just so clear that this guy's mind works on overdrive. Like, he's pulling from art, from music, from movies, obviously,
books,
from literature.
Yeah,
like,
dude. He does
he's
not
just
fuck
insatiable.
around.
So, start off with a funny one. The villains, the vampires, their look was inspired by Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and how Wagner Moura's wolf character is represented there. And that
Banger movie also.
Great movie. That was sourced from an interview with Straw Hat Goofy, which was really funny. Great moment to check out. Salem's Lot, a Stephen King book from the 70s, which is about a man returning to his small town in Maine to find that it is infested with vampires. Sound familiar?
Yep.
Here's an obscure one. A Twilight Zone episode called The Last Rites of Jeff Myrtlebank. This is about a man who wakes up at his own funeral does like the Undertaker, just like sits straight up and scares the whole town. They think that he is undead, but he insists to everyone, I am fine. It is me. It's that tension and the eeriness which sets the town on edge, that he's so confidently stating he's human, he's fine. It's so clear that he's not.
Yeah.
I mentioned The Thing from John Carpenter with that garlic test. There's a great shot of Michael B. Jordan banging his head against the door.
That was so
which
good.
is directly lifted from The Shining. Jack Torrance has that moment,
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson's character, with that upward angle in the
Loved
Stanley
it.
Kubrick film. Here's another odd one. Coogler cites the Coen brothers as major influences on the movie. 3 movies in particular. Inside Llewyn Davis, which is about folk music, but is so amazing, and how the music is played, how it sounds, just how it wraps itself around the story.
Fucking bummer
So that's
watch.
a clear one. Bummer watch, you said?
Yeah, it's so sad.
It is a little sad, but it's a great movie. And then Fargo and No Country for Old Men.
Fargo. That's dope, dude. No Country is
Yeah.
easy, but yeah, that's pretty sick. I didn't know that.
Maybe my favorite of his references is that he said he wanted Sinners to feel like a song. Okay, what does that mean, Ryan Coogler? What song? One by Metallica. He said when it comes to One by Metallica, the song starts off melodic, then goes fucking crazy, then comes back to melodic. And that's the arc and shape he wanted Sinners to have.
That's so cool. I would not expect Metallica to be a reference. He
And
just rocks.
Lars Ulrich, drummer for Metallica, played drums on the score of Sinners.
That's so cool.
Last one, we mentioned Robert Johnson and just blues and the legends of it, maybe inspiring Sinners more than anything else.
Yeah.
And what a great basis for a film. I've read books kind of relating to that story, but never seen a movie about it. And why? Like the Faustian Bargain is just box office.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not literally, but like I'm always going to be locked in if someone's selling their soul to the devil for
anything.
genius, for power. Like it's just
It's
riveting.
Cool. Yeah. Also, you don't want to forget that one of the big influences is this kind of was his eulogy and his honoring of his passed away uncle, who introduced him to the blues and loved the blues. And so that was kind of, he says that his time with him and wanting to know him more, even when he's gone, was also a big part of why he wanted to make this film.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, state of black horror, Sena. I feel like Jordan Peele's dominated this for a bit.
I don't know. We've had other ones peppered in. They've not all been great, but I think that things are good. We have people that are willing to still play in the genre that I think are talented and auteurs. I think that Jordan Peele, like you said, is just kind of playing bully ball with it. Like, who else is going to step into the arena?
Well, was until Sinners.
Sinners, yeah.
I'm not at all pitting them against each other.
Yeah, no.
They're doing different things, but they're also, like, horror is always such an interesting, unique vehicle for social commentary, racial commentary. So Jordan Peele's been on that block since Get Out, doing it really well.
Yeah, but and one thing that I can say to Jordan Peele's credit is he's not trying to continue to play bully ball. You have him coming out that's executive produced by Jordan Peele, directed by Justin Tipping, which is a black horror film about a college football player, like about the trappings of that kind of culture of like excellence. And so I'm really interested in seeing that.
And I think it'd be incorrect to flatten this into one thing, because even while these are 2 black directors making big budget films with social racial commentary, the movies, the style, it just feels so different.
So much. Apples to oranges.
I hope they just continue doing their thing, getting those big checks to make amazing movies.
Yeah.
A cinema score for Sinners, A+ cinema score for the under 18 crowd, which is pretty cool. It is projected to make $40 million this weekend, perhaps a little more than that,
thought
maybe
it was 50.
45. Well, they say 40 to 50. We're going to see where it lands. I'm rooting for it to overperform. We saw that with Minecraft a couple weeks ago, where the projections were so low, and then it turned into a movement. Now, people aren't chicken jockeying, throwing fucking popcorn everywhere in Sinners, but the word of mouth,
It's fucking
can't get better than this. Yeah, it really is.
I think we're going to see a bump. I think it'll have a long tail as more and more people. Like, I called my mom and she was like, I didn't even know this was happening. You know, like, as some of that starts happening, I think that it'll.
Yeah. So back to Jordan Peele. Us made $250 million. Nope made $170 million. Reports are that Sinners has to make somewhere between 200 and 300 million to break even. Now, I don't like playing this game because a great movie is a great movie is a great movie. but that's a lot of money. It's
Yeah,
gonna make.
that's a
Could
lot
it
of
get
money.
there?
International, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a very American story.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like, let's just pray for
I want to buy my second ticket and rewatch this.
I'm going to see this so many times. I'm going to see this
Right.
like 9 times. I'm going to just force people
You're
to
going
go
to
with
Dune
me.
to it?
I am. I feel the same feeling as when I left Dune 2. I'm going to keep seeing it every format. I'm driving to Indiana with a friend of mine to go see it on 70 millimeter.
No way.
Because we are in the Midwest cinema wasteland, and I refuse not to see it in its intended format.
Well, the critics agree with the popular audience. 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, 84% on Metacritic, a 4.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. We have differing opinions on what this might signal for the participants. Let's talk about Ryan Coogler. First of all, carte blanche for anything he wants, right?
Oh, absolutely. I just wish he wanted something different, but you know.
Right. So it's been reported that he is going to make an X-Files TV show. It's unclear, is he going to direct, produce it? You know, Jordan Peele made a Twilight Zone reboot.
And no one gave
mixed
a
results.
fuck.
Yeah.
No one cared. It was just like, dude, just make the next movie. I need more. No one cares about the X-Files anymore.
I know. I was just gonna reveal blind spot, but like I don't care about the X-Files.
No one does, man. Yeah.
So hopefully this is just a producerial role and it's not his next thing that he's focusing his directing attention on. He is contracted to make Black Panther 3, but you see this movie, like, don't go back there. Don't go back there unless like you really need to like pay for your kid's private school. But this is gonna make you money.
Yeah, I mean, like, make him money, like, just right now in the moment, but also just like with how much people are just willing to give him in the future, knowing that he can command this kind of audience outside of any sort of established franchise. Like, it's just, I think it's great. He's a big winner in this movie.
What do you want him to do next?
More of this, honestly. I just really want him to do more shit like this.
Would you be down for a Sinners prequel?
Yeah, I would. I'd be down for 3, 4, 5 spin-offs. I want indigenous bounty hunters. I want fucking Smoke and Stack during the war.
Stack Chicago.
Yeah, Smoke and Stack Chicago. I want to see what the fuck Stack gets up to with his white girlfriend. I want to see Preacher Boy's like fucking journey to being like a
blues legend.
Like whatever, man. I'll do this all day. I love this world. It just leaves you wanting to be there more, with these characters.
That. You kind of said this, but where does this leave original blockbusters? Will people have a little more faith and excitement in them? We have one battle after another being the biggest test from Paul Thomas Anderson coming out this fall. Hey, man, it's tough. Sometimes
the answer is no. The answer is no. I just don't think that it's going to in those boardrooms right now, Warner Brothers is like, oh yeah, that was cute, and is looking at Superman with the hardest, rock hard erection and waiting for that payday. Like that's what's going on.
That's
it
a
is,
mistake.
But it's true. That's what's happening right now in those boardrooms. They're like, yeah, what I said is great. I hope it makes money, and then they're like looking at Superman every day
to capture the fervor of critics, audiences alike, different shapes and sizes and races of people. Even if it makes less money, that should mean something more than the lowest common denominator superhero film and its financial success.
At WB, that's just not how they work, and even less so now with all the rumblings about changing of the guard.
Like Sinners making $400 million is more exciting to me than Superman making
$1 billion.
$900 million.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I'm gonna see Superman. I hope it'll be good, but the stuff like this just lights me up, man. And so hopefully we'll see. Somebody else maybe will get their shot.
It lights me up too. And to close, we want to share with the viewer some movies we'd recommend if you like Sinners. If you don't, we want to hear about that too. But I haven't met someone that has disliked this movie yet.
We've heard people with some critiques.
Wait, before we do that, can you just tell me in what way the worm will turn on this movie and what you think the naysayers might say? Because I like I said, I haven't seen it. I'm always looking out for this.
Yeah, I can already start. I can see that it starts with the trolls, right? But by the end of this week or in the next 2, people are going to start saying, this is overhyped because it's a black thing. Like white and black people are all rallying around this because it's
criticism.
Yeah, it's a DEI movie. Like I bet you DEI movie will be said multiple times about this movie, and it's going to become a culture war battlefront. And it's going to and then the right, no shade to anybody's political views, but the right and the left, it's like the minute this gets entrenched in any sort of this is good or bad for political reasons X or Y, everyone just battens down the hatches and just doesn't even give a fuck to engage with it. It's just all about winning points. So
sounds awful.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be shitty.
Movies to recommend if you like Sinners. Let's go for 3 each. Why don't you kick us off?
Lost Boys. He talks about how much he loves this movie. I think it's one of the first vampire movies I ever saw. Predates Twilight, but it's like kind of has some of that DNA in it. It's just like the coolest fucking guys, best of friends, happen to suck blood. Awesome costuming, awesome world, awesome tone. I just love it.
Nice. Not a vampire movie, but I mentioned earlier, Lovers Rock from Steve McQueen, part of his Small Axe series from the pandemic 2020. It's about a single night in the 70s at a West London house party that becomes a euphoric, music-driven escape for the tight-knit Caribbean community. It's about the power of music. It's about community. It's about rhythm. It's very sexy and sensual, and there's sweat and there's emotion. And it's kind of just about music taking on a power greater than just a sound wave that goes through your ear. You know what I mean? It's about music moving the body and moving the soul and the heart. It's incredible stuff.
That's
and
dope.
The second act in Sinners really reminded me of this. So I really recommend people see that. I think it's on Prime Video. What's next for you?
For me, I am going to recommend a not awesome movie, but a movie that I think has resonant themes to, or at least like set dressing to Sinners. It's called The Empty Man from 2020. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's this really, really interesting, like, psych thriller, horror, suspense story that has to do with, like, this strange cult that appears that people are, like, getting drawn into inexplicably and are, like, very, very passionate about. And this one detective-like guy is trying to get to the root of it. It has some really spooky scenes that, like, really remind me of some of the shots in Sinners, especially of the vampires out in the field. It has one of the scariest scenes I've ever seen, honestly. And I think that...
Whoa.
Even though it's not an awesome movie, it's an interesting watch if you have nothing to do on like a Friday, Saturday night. I'd take a look at it. I'm not sure where it's streamed.
All good.
Hulu.
I'm so glad I've seen this film because it's just so random and it could have easily passed me by. But it's a 1987 film from Alan Parker called Angel Heart that stars Mickey Rourke, who's like so canceled the past couple weeks, and Robert De Niro. And it's about this downbeat detective, 1950s New Orleans. He's hired to find a missing singer, and he discovers this trail of dark occult murders and mystery.
That's fucking cool.
So, Southern Gothic vibes. It's got noir elements, horror, the occult, De Niro playing the devil, which, great. And it is about that Faustian bargain and a deal with the devil. It has just so much sheer what the fuckness. Like, how am I seeing this on screen? How is this not part of, like, a snuff film or something like that? That I think you can only get away with in the 80s when there weren't codes and whatnot.
Yeah, when we just were less civilized.
Yeah, so there's just things in this movie on screen. You're just like, how'd they do this? I think like the messiness of Sinners really reminded me of Angel Heart in the best kind of way. Like just so much what the fuck that you kind of, like I said at the top, you're getting your money's worth. You're like, wow, that was a whole damn thing.
That's dope.
And what's your last recommendation?
It's obvious. It's From Dusk Till Dawn. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. It's this movie and it are just like spiritually linked, I think. I think this feels in some ways like a spiritual successor in some subtle ways to it, at least with the premise. And so I think that you should check it out. It has Quentin Tarantino in it, and Robert Rodriguez directed it, and people like it a lot.
Salma Hayek?
Salma Hayek. What's your last one?
I also mentioned it already, but it's Watchmen, the TV show.
That's cheap. Say something else.
Listen, Watchmen also came out during COVID. I think it's really underrated. I think that's one of the best shows of the past few years.
Wow.
I do.
Superhero show from Gabriel is one of the best.
But that's why it's fascinating.
Yeah, it counts, but it doesn't.
Such a subversion of superhero stories, and it's a centering of blackness within the superhero genre, which isn't very black.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Manhattan is played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen. The thing starts with the Tulsa massacre of Black Wall Street in the 90s.
Yeah.
That's how the show begins, with like the most striking opening scene of a show I can remember. But I think people forget even before that, there's a kid watching Lawman Bass Reeves in a theater before the massacre begins.
Holy shit.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Have you watched this?
Yes, of course. But I watched it a while ago and I was kind of checked out.
Well, you shouldn't be, because this is racial history through speculative fiction, exactly like Sinners is. Deals with the American South. Now, that's more of like the Midwest South, but still the South. And it looks tremendous.
It does look really good.
If you like Sinners, I think you would definitely like Watchmen. Sinners, Sena.
Sinners is fine. Sena.
This was great. This really did have Dune 2 vibes.
It did, man.
Our favorite podcast we've ever done.
We just fucking
we went way too long, but there was so much to talk about. And in terms of yeah, like cinematic events, it does feel akin to that a little bit.
Best one of the year so far, man. I had a blast.
Well, I'm so glad you did. I did too. I can't wait to go back. I'm just figuring out when.
I think I'm going on Sunday, on Easter Sunday.
Tomorrow? Nice.
Yeah, sprinkling some irony.
All right, Sena, any last words for the audience?
Go fucking see it. Run, don't walk. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Sena.